Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Cambridge IGCSE Computer Science May-June 2025 paper 2-2. Okay, and as usual we're going to be discussing the programming part. Alright, so the programming part is question number 10. This question seems quite easy. So it's a little below the standard of the IGCSE exams, so I don't know why the question came up in the first place. But if you go through the mark scheme, you would realize that the question has been removed from the question paper. But however, as our culture is, for every programming part of the questions of any year must be treated on this channel. Okay, so we will treat this one as well. And however, I still believe it is a very good way to help us understand programming logic, especially when you're having problem with functions and procedures. So this is going to help you understand sub programming, especially in Python. Okay, so that's the question. A program is required to allow students to calculate volume of a number of standard three-dimensional shapes. It will use functions to allow other shapes to be added in the future. So you need to take note of the fact that functions will be used. Okay, very important. So there is a difference between a function and a procedure. So take note of that. A procedure does not return any variable or any value from where it was called, but a function returns a value. Okay, so from the question was is quite specific here that we would use functions. So it must be a function and not a procedure. So looks like we're going to have procedure function for cuboid, and that's the formula. Function for triangular prism, that's the formula. Function for the sphere, so everything is, they are calculating the volume. Okay, and then you have a constant here which is pi 3.142 for the sphere, the volume of a sphere. So the question says write a program that meets the following requirements. It will output a menu to ask the user for an input to indicate the shape for which a volume needs to be calculated. Okay, so the user is going to indicate the shape. Now from the three shapes given, or if they want to stop the program, so you would have like four options. Okay, four options. One for the cuboid, one for the triangular prism, one for the sphere, and the last one to terminate the program. Now the program must validate the input, so we'll discuss that when we get there. Okay, so I think this is what I would do to make life easier for us. I'm just going to copy this and then we'll go ahead with the programming. Okay, let me quickly read this part. The program continues until the user inputs the stop option from the menu. Okay, so it should be an endless loop until the user decides to exit the program. Now you must use pseudocode program or program code and add comments to explain how your code works. So this is a regular occurrence in these questions. Okay, all variables and constant use must be declared in this algorithm. So take note of this, must be declared. All input and output must contain suitable messages. Okay, so let me copy this so that we can just paste it in our Python program. Before that, let me get the name of this file as my Python file name. Okay, so I'm going to right click on this folder, then I'll go to new, I'll go to Python file. I hope I'm in the right place. Hold on, let me go back again. Okay, yeah, I'm in the right place. So Ctrl V, so this will be the file name. So I'll press enter, and then a new folder is opened, a new Python file is opened. Then I'll go back and copy this, and then jump back and paste this here, select everything, Ctrl / to comment it out. All right, so what are we going to do here? First of all, there are variables we need to declare, which is very important. Number one is remember that we're calculating volume, yeah? So we need the volume. So let's keep it at 0. Another thing we need to do is the constant. Remember, the constant is pi, and the pi is usually 3.147, yeah? So let's leave it at that. Okay, in the question, I think they added the 2 there, so let's make it that way. Okay, so what next do we need to do? Now, all this way, remember we're told that we're going to be using functions, yeah? We're going to be using functions. So we're expecting to have 4 functions here, 4 functions. Well, I would say if 3 functions, and then we'll use one procedure. So let's jump straight to it. So here is the first function for the cuboid. Remember, so we'll do one function for the cuboid, one for triangular prism, and the one for sphere. Yeah. So that's for the cuboid. Now, there is a condition here. So what we're going to do here is we would set the requirements of this cuboid as the parameters. Let me quickly explain. Here we need the base, we need the depth, we need the height, so we will put them in as the parameters of the function, so that whenever you call the function, you pass the base, the depth, and the height to it as arguments, so that it can return the answer. Yeah, good. So we would say, let's say my base, and then we need my depth, then we need my height. Yeah, remember, here says base, depth, and height. Yeah, good. So that's where we are. And then, so what do we need to do here? We need to return what? Return my base times, if you watch the formula given to us, my base times the height times the depth, and then the height. Okay, my base multiplied by the height, and then okay, so it is going to return this. All right, so you can do well to add your comment here. Okay, so this is the function for the cuboid. Okay, okay, so you can say calculating the volume. Okay, so let's do this as a comment. All right, so that's the way we will leave this. Okay, so the next part is to calculate for the triangular prism. Yeah, so that's it, triangular prism. So we will use the same thing, because if you check for the prism, let me take this down here. Let's just go back to the prism. So if you check, the prism says half times base times depth times height. Okay, so all we need to do is to add 1/2 here, which, and then do multiplication sign there. So that will return the volume of the triangular prism. Now you can do well to equally add the same comment here, function for triangular prism. Okay, and then here we're calculating the volume, of course. Okay, what else do we need to do? We need to do for the sphere, right? Again, def. So what do we need here? Let's go back to the function, to the formula given to us. So we need pi, we need radius, radius, radius. So we only need radius in this case. We can just use pi because we've already declared pi before. Yeah, this is what I mean. Pi is already here existing as a constant, so we don't need it. So we can choose to put pi inside. We can put pi inside and then just use it, or we can drop it here as a global, but I think we should drop it as a global. Yeah, because the idea is we can decide to expand this. right? We can decide to add more functions according to the question, so that when we have another a volume we need to calculate that requires pi, we don't need to make it local again. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so what do we need here? We only need the radius. Yeah, that's the only thing we need here. So we can say radius, or we say my radius if you like, radius, and then that's all we need here. Then we'll close that. So here, of course, you have to do your return. What are we returning? Remember the formula given to us. 4 by 3 times radius times radius times radius again. Yeah, so let's confirm that. Radius, 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 so into 3. Okay, so what else do we need to do? So we're done with the 3 of them as per the shapes given to us. Now the next thing we need to do is to create um a a procedure that is going to terminate the program. Okay, so let's call it end program. So this one will not take any argument, and then when we call it, it will just exit the program. Yeah, good. So what are we doing here? We can say function procedure to end program, and then here, of course, function for the sphere, and then here we're calculating the volume. Okay, so it looks like we're done creating functions and procedures. So we now need to head to the main body of the program. Okay, so where does all these comments come in? Okay, so here, okay, so we need to create a menu. Okay, so before we do the menu, remember that this program will continually run. Yeah, so we can use the programming tactics while true, so that it will continue to run until we call exit. Yeah, I hope it makes sense. Okay, okay. All right, so menu indicate the shape. So let's do that somewhere here. So we will pick some of these lines as our comments as we proceed. I hope that's understandable. So let me move this way so that it is properly indented. Okay, along with the indentation required for the wire. So what we need to do here, we need to okay, so the first thing we need to do is that we need you can say menu or shape as the case may be. So I want to use shape. Now usually I like to trap the user inside of the loop, so it's quite a lot easier for me that way. So I will say while, now while this shape while shape is less than 1, because the idea is that we'll use 1 for cuboid, 2 for triangular prism, 3 for the sphere, and then 4 for terminating the program. Okay, so while this shape is less than 1, or the shape is greater than 4, remember, so the selection is between 1 to 4. So while this is the case, it should ask for uh, the shape. Okay, so enter the shape number. So it is very important for us to indicate which of the numbers. Okay, so let me use the new line. So here will be 1 for cuboid. So this guy is already doing the job for me. So 1 for cuboid, 2 for triangular prism, 3 for sphere, and then 4 to end program. So that way the user gets to pick what he or she wants to accomplish. So here, remember, we need to put up a comment. Here we're validating the user's input, so must validate user's input. So this is what we're doing. We're validating user's input. Okay, validates the input. So here we are initializing shape number. Yeah, okay, So here we're displaying the output. So you can say, let's come down here. So we are doing both two things here. We're taking the input and outputting the menu as well. Okay. So we can take this. Let's drop this here. So output a new menu to ask. So outputs menu to so we can just drop all of this. Outputs menu and takes inputs. It takes the input to indicate the shape for which the user needs to calculate. So so we can take this out. Okay, so this will be just fine. Okay, so what else do we need to do? So we've basically done this part. So the next thing, say input the data needed to calculate the volume of the chosen shape. Okay, so we now need to, now depending on whatever the user has selected, we now call the appropriate function to calculate. Okay, all right, so that's what we'll do now. So now I would like to use match. I don't want to use if then else. Okay, I don't want to use if else, so I'll use match. Okay, so we'll look for a match for shape. So if shape matches so in case we have one, what should we do? So let me just say pass. In case it is two, let me still say pass. In case it is three, let's still pass. In case it is four, let's pass. Okay, so there seems to be a problem with my program here. I need to know why. Okay, this is supposed to be, yeah, this is supposed to be here. Okay, let me see. What could be the problem? Okay, so it is complaining about the indentation. I'm not sure where the problem is coming from. So let me go to the end. So it's asking for this, but I'm not supposed to do this inside of this loop. No, I am not supposed to do it. Okay, so this has cleared it. So I don't know. I'm not sure why the problem was there in the first place. Okay, why it was indicating that I have an error somewhere. I'm not sure, but then we're good. Yeah. Okay, so here is where I need to put the program now, where I need to take the inputs for the different parameters, okay, and pass them as arguments, and do the rest of the work. Yeah. Okay. So here, let me change this path. Now, what do we need to do here? We need the base. We need the base, so we need to ask the user to input the base. Okay, so let's take the base as a float. So input the base number. Okay, so we can just input the base. I don't need to add number to it. So input the base. So let me not make it start off with a new line. On the same line will be fine. So after the base, we need to take the depth as well, and then after the depth we equally need to take the height as well. Yeah. Okay, so this guy is doing the job for me. Okay, so that's that base, depth, and height. Okay, so since we've done that, what's the next thing we need to do? We need to output the result. Okay, we need to output the result. The volume will be equal to, no, we're not going to do that. The volume will be equal to, we now need to call the cuboid. Yeah, good. And then we need to pass the base, the depth, and the height to it. So that's what we ought to do. So after doing that, we can now we can now print out the volume. So the volume is okay. Now remember here we were told to print in two decimal place. Okay, so we've not been making comments. We've been carrying on with our lives without taking note of the comments. Input the data needed to calculate the volume of the chosen shape. Okay. Okay, so we will need this. So I'm going to cut this out. Okay, take this out. Let me paste this here. Okay, input the data needed to calculate the volume of the shape. Okay. So create one function for each. So we've done that already. Each function uses the input data as parameter, which we have done already. Output the okay, so we want to output now. Okay, output the volume in the main program rounded to two decimal places. Okay, so that's what we want to do. We want to round this volume to two decimal places. Okay, so how are we going to do that? We can use the round function. That would work, or we can use the formatting, pattern. Where and that's the one I want to use, because if the numbers are all whole numbers, it will not give you in two decimal places. It will just appear as, let's say if it is 12, it's just going to give it 12.0. Okay, so I want to do it in such a way that it will always be in two decimal places to ensure that I will easily use the the uh, formatting approach. Okay, which is you do a percentage and then you do 0.2f. So this will force it to be in two decimal place. Yeah. Okay, and then I can take this out and put the percentage as well there. So that will do the magic for me. Okay, so this will force it to display in two decimal place. So at this point, do you think we should just test this program to see if this works? And then if it works the way we want it, then we know that others are equally going to work the same way. Should we try it? Okay, let's do that. All right, so let me just run this guy. Okay, so that's what we have. Okay, so let me try outside of the range. You see it brings me back here. Okay, so let me try 5. It brings me back. Let me try 1, and then here we are. So it's asking me for the base. So if I say 12, let me say 4, 3, 5, and that is the result there, 60.00. You see, because it's a whole number. Yeah, and then it is going to repeat this entire process again. That is the question. Okay, that is instruction. The requirements are based on the question given. So I think we're good here. So I can end this program and just complete for the rest of the work. So what do we need for the second one? Is the triangular prism, right? Yeah, so the second one is a triangular prism. So we still need something like the height, the base, the height, and the width again, and then just this. So largely we will have almost the same thing. So I'll just copy this dude and paste it here. Okay, there's something I want to do here. Volume of, let me add, of what shape is that? Of cuboid is, okay, volume of cuboid is da 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 da. So that works. Okay, so here we are. So we're still getting the float, we're still getting the base, the depth, the height, the volume. So the only thing we are changing is the formula. Here we're calling the triangular prism, and then the formula is okay. The formula is already done with here, so we're good to go. So the calculation will be done and the answer will be displayed. Yeah, okay. So the next thing we need to do is to calculate for what do we call it again? The sphere, right? The sphere. Okay, so the sphere, all we need is the radius. We don't need any other thing, just the radius alone. Okay, so we can take this out and then we will ask the user for the radius. Yeah, so radius, equals that. So enter radius. So once the user enters the radius, we can go ahead to call to calculate the volume by calling the sphere and putting in the radius there. So the rest will be done by the function. Yeah. Mm, okay. So since we have done this, what else do we need to do? We now need to print. Yeah. So we need to print now the same way we printed. Okay. So let's do this volume of triangular sphere. Volume of triangular sphere is, here we're calling it to do volume of oh, this is sphere, sorry, and the other one is prism. This is prism. Yeah. Okay, so that does the magic. So looks like we are good to go. So once we've done this, we've calculated. Now the last part is where we need to call end program. Okay, we need to call end program to terminate the entire thing. Okay, so let's run it again and see if, so we've tested case 1, so let's test case 2 and case 3. So let's test case 2. Case 2 is asking for base, let me say 12, 3, 4, and that would be the answer. Triangular prism is asking again for us to continue, so let's try the sphere, which is number 3. So it's asking for radius, radius to 12.3. So let's see the answer. Take it back. Okay, you can see there so that is the radius, I mean the volume of the sphere, and then it's asking again. So let's try to terminate this program and see if it works. Good, program terminated. So that is the entire video. Okay, so we need to please remember to complete your comment here. I'll put the volume. So let's just do this. I'm going to cut this out, and let me go back, undo. So I'm just going to copy this, say output the volume rounded to 2 decimal place. Yeah, so I'll just cut this and paste them there. I can paste them here or just somewhere there. Okay, or just somewhere there. Okay, again, just somewhere there. Okay, so you can put your comment here and say calculating volume, calculating volume. What else do I need to paste? So let me just copy this, calculating volume, and then drop it here, calculating volume, drop it here. Okay, so this should be ending program. Okay, end program. All right. So this is basically it. Okay, so I hope, do we need this calculating the shape? So we don't need this guy. All right. Okay, do we? Okay, from 3 shapes given, if the, so I don't think we need this dude. Yeah, so this dude can go, so we're good to go as it is. Okay, all right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Do you like what you've seen so far? Please, if you do well to like, subscribe, and share. Okay, that way you get to appreciate us for the little work that we do, and that way the video gets to as many persons as possible. If you've not hit the notification button, please do so, so that when next I drop a video like this, you'll be the first to know. Okay, thank you. I'll see you guys again in the next video. Bye for now.